Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
I'm Dan Charlton.
I'm Jonathan Franklin.
And we are joined this week with Sebastian DeWitt from doubleTwist. Sebastian is the Chief Creative Officer for doubleTwist. He has worked for companies in the past such as Apple, HP, T-Mobile, HTC, Sony, EA. Originally from the Netherlands, he's been featured in numerous Dutch newspapers for international design. He's a frequent speaker at major design events. He's led workshops. He's basically a design badass, it sounds like. So thank you, Sebastian, for joining us to talk with us about doubleTwist and the new Magic Radio service that you guys unveiled about a week ago.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been fun talking to a lot of people online. I dove into the Engadget comments and the Verge comments at some point even, and well, let's say this will be I'm sure this will be a lot more pleasant than that, but it's been really fun to talk with people.
You never ever look at the comments.
Yeah, the comments, especially YouTube comments. So you guys watching on YouTube right now, we only want to see good comments, because no comments about my cat. You know, my cat Sebastian, she always jumps up in the chair during the show. You know, I try to keep her out of it, but people love it. So you know, the internet loves cats, right? So you know, we don't mind it. All right, so like I said, you guys been around for a number of years as a music service for Android, and recently you pushed out Magic Radio, and Magic Radio is a music discovery service, a platform that allows you to stream music to your favorite Android device. So, Sebastian, can you tell us a little bit more about Magic Radio? You know, how it differs from what else is out there on the market? You know, like such as Spotify or Pandora, things like that.
Sure. So we started Magic Radio initially because we felt like we had a really good spot with a player that uses your existing library and tie into iTunes or Windows Media Player with the files you have. But like everybody else, I enjoyed using Spotify or Pandora for all the music I don't have on my disk and I don't want to store. And I kind of don't even get, so we wanted to really get into that game. Sort of seemed like the natural place for us to go. And one of the biggest frustrations I have, my wife uses Pandora all the time. When she plays Pandora, it seems like the same playlist just keeps repeating over and over again. And it's actually because their library it's pretty small. And with Magic Radio, we partnered with a catalog, Equinix and 7 Digital, that's really big. Like we've got millions and millions of songs, easily several times more than Pandora. So that already gives us a big edge on them. And we also try to. Obviously, we're not like a huge player. We can't like elbow in huge deals, like giving people practically unlimited music with ads. But we also wanted to make something that didn't have like a bad free experience. So we give people a nice 7-day unlimited trial without any ads, and then you can play us like a small fee per month for continuing that.
Yeah, and the fee actually isn't bad. It's what, $3.99 a month, and that's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, and so some people are giving us flack because it's you have to sign up through Google Wallet to start a trial, but it's actually the only way we can integrate the subscription in a good way. Like it doesn't automatically cancel. Some people say, oh, that's kind of tricky behavior. They're trying to like weasel us into money. But if we want to make it easier to cancel out of it, but right now Google Wallet subscription APIs are just not easy at all. So regarding that, we're definitely working on that with Google as well. But for now, it gives a really, really solid experience. If you like it, it's perfect. If not, we're working on it.
Yeah, you know what? I tried it out. It's actually not that bad. I mean, it pops up into a web browser for Google Wallet, and you click two buttons. I mean, you click buy. And it's really not that bad. It's really not bad. I can't believe you guys are getting complaints about that. I mean, I didn't have any problems at all.
That's good.
All right, so
one of the big things we also really wanted to. Oh, sorry.
No.
One of the big things we really wanted to improve on Pandora, and Spotify actually as well. One of my major issues with that was simply sort of knowing what you want to listen to. With Pandora itself, usually you really want to pick a certain artist, or you have to sort of start a station with very limited criteria. And with Spotify, you kind of have to build your own playlist. They're doing radio now, which is nicer, but it's still a little bit. Sometimes you just kind of feel like a certain mood, or you want to have a certain, a genre, say. And we really wanted that to be an essential part of like our first part of the product. So as always with software, it's really hard to pick what you put in that first version. But for us, it was the tricky part was getting mood-based stations and genre-based stations right in the first release. So we have that, and I really like that.
Yeah. So I picked. I picked a mood station, because I'm not used to seeing playing music by mood. So I thought that was pretty neat. So I picked the mood epic. Because I was like, yeah, why not? It's supposed to be music that's gonna pump me up, right? And I can't remember. Do you guys remember what was that first song that popped up when I was playing that? It was a movie. It was from a movie. It was a theme song.
Titanic?
Well, Titanic was one of them, but that really wasn't a pump up. What was the first one? Oh, I don't remember. But it was like a pump up. We were like, yeah, we were getting ready. It was epic music. I liked it. It was pretty cool.
I mean, was that most of the development that went into it? Like, there was a lot of thinking behind the scenes of how to accurately describe and portray a mood, and
Yeah. So how did you guys come up with the moods for the different kinds of music?
And I think we lost him.
Uh-oh. Well, see, that's what happens sometimes, with live broadcasts. You just never know what's going to happen, such as your developer, losing connection and freezing. But there he is. All right, he's back. Hey.
Muted though, Sebastian.
Muted again.
You're back, but you're muted right now. Just unmute. Whenever you join a Hangout, it automatically mutes you.
Top right.
Wrong button. Too far to the right.
So this is all part of the deal.
He'll be back. So anyways, we'll talk about Magic Radio for a second.
Here he is.
Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, that's
No
fine. Live broadcasts always have hiccups from time to time. You never know what you're going to get, and every once in a while, Google throws us a hiccup as well. And it's always fun whenever I get disconnected, like in the middle of a rant. It always happens. I'm like yelling about something, and boom, like I'm in the middle of like complaining about something or really on a roll and just get disconnected. So yeah,
just like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you caught what I was asking before you got disconnected, but I'm just wondering, did a lot of the thought process go into how to portray a mood through song choice and how to accurately, portray a mood with song?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? You broke up a little bit.
Like portraying the moods. Like, did a lot of work go into that?
Yeah, it really did. It's really fun too because it's the most hilarious testing you can have. We at some point we had this persistent problem that we had a relaxation-based station. It would not stop like inserting Swedish death metal. For some people, I'm sure that's super relaxing, but we need to change up the criteria a little bit so it doesn't do that anymore. And we managed to get that down. But it's also kind of difficult because you have to work with different parties. Like we have Echo Nest and Seven Digital and these other providers and people that provide the music to us and a lot of the cool data to make those mood-based stations. So we have to work with them to get those kind of things resolved. So if you still find some death metal in a relaxation mood station, then we're working on it.
That's pretty funny though. So you're going along. It's really really calm and everything. Then all of a sudden just boom, death metal. Like.
It's great because to test it, you just pretty much all use it day to day, and you have your phone in, you have your headphones. You're just like, what is this going on? It's really funny.
But yeah, you'll have that. As you said, it's you guys' first version. It's only going to get better with time,
Definitely, and the more people who use it, the better our data set gets. Well, in this case, there would be Equinet's data set as well.
Okay.
Do you leverage off of the being that you have the unique advantage of kind of combining people's own native music, and do you leverage that into predictive servers too?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. For me, that was one of my major annoyances with Spotify. It integrated into my iTunes library because I keep my music in iTunes, but then it's sort of like a dead part of it. It didn't learn from it. Couldn't make any suggestions. I ended up just going to last.fm to find new artists and then sort of manually like entering them into to Spotify to see if they were on there or not, and then putting them in a playlist and then making a list of stuff I may like or not. If you already have music in doubleTwist, we actually make a station of music you'll love, very likely, or music you want to discover, like music you that's way more sort of out there, but we think you might like. And there's such a wealth of data there that you can even, we're actually working on implementing that right now. You can take an existing playlist and tell us, hey, what about, I want to make this twice the size, can we do that? And that's really nifty. I mean, we're just scratching the surface there. We tried to integrate as well as we could, and there's already some cool stuff in there, but possibilities are still pretty promising. So it's pretty cool.
And then you said you guys are definitely unique compared to to Pandora or Spotify because you offer, just as a recap here, you can create a station based on an artist, a song, the album, genre, mood, which is fun, or a search term. So it gives you a variety of choices. Yeah, you can even base it on any kind of a word you want. Like you could say, you can stick, put some pretty funny terms in there and see what comes back. But for now, it's really useful for, say, music festivals. Coachella's coming up, so we made that like one of the default stations that you have right now to see, how flexible that really is. And then you have the ability to purchase the song as well. Now, what service does that go through? Is that go through your own store, your own service, or does it go outside? It goes to sadly on one side, it's sad that we don't have our own music store. On the other side, I cannot imagine the kind of headaches involved with that. So right now we're using 7 Digital for that. They've got a really good quality, DRM-free tracks that are usually the lowest price that they usually beat iTunes. So they seem like the best person to partner up with. Good. What sort of? Go ahead, Scott.
Is it available just in the U.S.? Because I know that I'm in the U.S., but I don't. How about people across the sea? Yeah, it's currently only available in the U.S. We're trying to negotiate, with our content partners to see how far we can bring that, to people and stuff. But it's kind of out of our control. We're trying really hard to bring it out of the U.S., but for now it's limited to U.S. only. Yeah, with the Google products and everything, we always hear U.S. first, but it's good to hear that negotiations are Do you think that you're talking about it? Do you think that is your biggest hurdle for licensing and legal challenges, is trying to get content available overseas? Yeah, it's so tricky. I mean, it's it's no miracle that a lot of people don't want to get into this stuff because it's legally so tricky. And we've already, even with these great partners that we have, we find it to be pretty challenging. But we're doing everything we can. Like I said, we don't have a giant corporation elbows to elbow ourselves into markets like that, but we try. So besides legal mumbo jumbo, what are some of the technical or design difficulties or hurdles that you guys had to get by to launch this? Once we got really well integrated with Echo Nest and their data set, it kind of became a big challenge design-wise to figure out how we could show this amount of flexibility and how we could push all the possibilities into one small patch without completely overwhelming people. And I think we did a pretty decent job at that. One of the things we switched around at some point is we used to have all these icons for different stations you could pick, and now we let people sort of more type, and then we suggest what comes up. So you could say, let's see, Magic, and it would suggest, you want to make a station out of Animal Magic, which is an album by Bonobo, one of my favorite artists, or do you want it, based on Magic Carpet Ride by, Steppenwolf, or you want to make a station based on the Magic Mood, or there's so many possibilities that it was pretty tricky to make that, not overwhelming. Apart from that, just make it work across obviously the variety of Android devices that are out there, and testing on all of those over that period of time. You want a radio station to work for longer than just 2 tracks. So our typical test process definitely drew out a bit. Nice cat, by the way. Yep, she's in her spot. So now the YouTube comments are going to start coming.
So what about from a hardware perspective? I mean, what all does it take to run an internet radio service? I can't imagine it's it's easy?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not the perfect person to ask that. John, our resident hacker and our awesome engineer, is also the CEO of the company. Did a lot to optimize to it for as many devices as possible. I sadly can't provide very insightful commentary about what it really takes for a device to be good for streaming.
I more meant the back end. Are you guys hosting servers, running all of this and streaming it down? Are you renting space from an Amazon or a Google type cloud provider, or are you running your own massive data center for this?
Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that too much, thanks to our content providers. The only thing we have to do is sort of take the requests and intelligently tell their servers to stream it to our users.
More the middleman than the actual provider.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so I have a question for you that I think is more up your alley. It's more of a design question. Being an Android show and being the guys that we are, we like hollow apps. We like Android apps that are of the hollow design. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the doubleTwist app is not a hollow app. Is there a reason that you haven't gone that way? Are there plans to hollow-ify, if that's a word, the app in the future? Where do you see that ever happening?
Oh yeah. doubleTwist actually initially was very reluctant to adopt Hollow because we started on the Android platform really young. We were there since version 2, making a solid app in the marketplace when, well, anything.
I remember using it back on my Incredible back in 2010. I remember when AirPlay came out, and I was one of the first people. I think I got it when it was in beta and got it for free before it became a purchasable app. Yeah, I used it years ago. I remember those days.
That's awesome. And we got pretty close to Google, and not to their discredit, because I realized exactly why they went that way. They kept telling us, hey, you should really try and abide a little bit more by our guidelines. You guys have nice design, but it's not quite following the direction we want to take with the platform. And every time they did that, 6 months later, they would come out with a design that would kind of conflict with their old one, because they were still sort of in flux and trying to find the look and feel of their platform. And which made us a little bit, very thankful that we went with this sort of design direction that we chose. We made our own visual language, which looked, native. I would say native enough. Like, it looked good and it felt good and didn't feel out of place. It also didn't feel completely in place, but it was, solid and made for a good experience. Now, right now, I feel like Android has really kind of found its visual identity, which is good. We've waited it out a little bit, and you'll be delighted to know that we're actually working on a really, really nice update that visually makes it much more in line with Hollow apps. And I'm not going to lie, it looks a lot better. It's
awesome.
Really simple. It's really clean and very nice. And it just took us, some time to make sure that that's the direction Google was going. But also, since we were just focusing so much on making new products, we're working on a really cool secret new desktop thing at the same time as well.
Yeah, that's cool, because as Android fans, a lot of people are gonna, they're not gonna like Apple. They're like, oh, I don't want to run doubleTwist because it looks like iTunes. Give us something that looks different. So that's cool that you guys have that coming out of the pipeline.
Totally, I respect that.
It brings up an interesting argument, and since you actually have the statistics, it seems like a lot of developers are seeing a lot more in terms of purchased applications and people that pay. It seems like the 4.0 and up users, in terms of adoption of those type of applications, tend to be a much higher percentage than even the gingerbread ones, even though the platform's about half and half right now. Is that what y'all are seeing too, out of your, especially like the subscription service and things like that? Or
yeah, definitely. Without going into too much detail, because I don't have the statistics right in front of me, I know from what I've seen in stats in the past that they're a much better route for lack of a better word, monetizing. There are just people who tend to, I think, use their device more than old people.
And also, I think that they're running faster devices.
That's a really good point.
More often than not. It's a little bit easier to consume content when you got something that's not lagging around.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of your gingerbread phones that are newer are feature phones now, so equivalently, anyway. So.
Yeah, totally. So it's hardly a surprise, but it's really good to see that, and especially once we see that curve of adoption going up for that platform and that market segment expanding, we're really happy to see people having enough trust in the platform to buy apps, and makes us happy that we got into it so early. To become a name that's associated with good stuff.
Education.
So if you guys are watching live on YouTube or Google Plus and you have any questions about doubleTwist, Magic Radio for Sebastian, go ahead and drop a comment, and we're watching them. We'll relay the question to him, and he'll try to answer it for you.
Happily.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how Magic Radio is going to be integrated into the Magic Play platform?
Yeah, for sure. For one, a little bit about Magic Play to begin with. We announced that at Mobile World Congress, and it's essentially we saw AirPlay, and I really dig AirPlay. Like, the whole concept is you have this video here, and in the past you have to heck, if you have an iPad, you know exactly how that works. You have to get like 3 different dongles and daisy chain them into each other, and then into it's like, I don't think the audio is working yet. Let me get this other thing and plug that in over here, and it doesn't work at all. And then with AirPlay, it's just you tap this, you tap that, and boom, it's on your screen. It's really nice. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then, of course, there's a whole set of DLNA complex abbreviations that would promise to do the same thing, but in reality don't work that well. And we partnered with Qualcomm to make something that really, standard that would really work very well for that. And we're trying to pioneer that and use that extensively in our app. Now, for Magic Radio, just like pretty much anything else in our app, we want it will work fully with Magic Play, and it should, we really want to eliminate the abstraction of what can you play anything on and how can you play anything on something. And Magic Radio fits into that as well. Very easily just pipe it over Magic Play to any device that supports it.
So you just play it right to your TV.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, let's see if we have any questions in the comment tracker. Oh, we have a question about is it coming to Australia and Canada? I think that that goes back to licensing issues that we were talking about earlier.
Definitely. As far as countries go, I'd say Europe and Canada are probably our easiest first ones. It's not that we don't love Australians. Australia is really cool. I was in Melbourne, last year. Super cool country. But I think it's probably going to be a little bit more tricky. But we're trying really hard.
Okay.
A couple of other questions from viewers. What do you think is your biggest struggle in making these apps and actually getting people to adopt them?
I think it's been tricky to convince people, and this is a general app thing, it's not limited to Android. I think it's tricky to convince people that it's worth buying an app or spending money on an app. It's one of the reasons why our base product is just free and really good. Regarding that, our free product has progressively gotten a few more little pop-ups saying, hey, could you could upgrade, and we're actually even getting rid of that because that has been actively hurting us. It's a tricky market out there, you have to really prove your worth, and even then people will still start complaining when you charge $1 for what has been, a lot of an office full of people's hard work for 6 months. So that's a major challenge, just simply convincing people that you're worth money and establishing that trust is huge. I'd say second, when it remains with Android and gets a bigger problem over time, is just designing for so many devices and making sure you get a really good experience on each. I wrote a blog post about it at some point, and it's a really tough battle. But we hope to actually share some insight that we gained in our testing and our design optimizations and engineering optimizations that we've learned in the last few years with people on our new blogs as well.
Good. Do you think that fight will continue to get easier as people adopt more the newer versions of Android, or do you think it'll kind of stay the same as, the newer ones come out and they stay at Ice Cream Sandwich or Jelly Bean when we're already at, Android 6 or?
I hope to see it consolidate a little bit. Purely selfish reasons, as a designer, I see less and less display technologies. That makes me really happy. Samsung's still sort of clinging to the OLED, but if we at some point only have 2 different panels of display panels out there, that already hugely helps me. But I also think that we will see manufacturers getting better at updates and stuff. It's a competitive market out there, and you have to gain a competitive edge. And I think the market will sort of regulate itself in that sense. It's a hope. In the meantime, we're just doing our best we can to just make it work everywhere.
I think at least for me and probably some of our viewers and listeners, part of the reason that I originally used doubleTwist years ago was because of who one of the founding guys for the company is, DVD John. I mean,
Yeah.
So I don't know if everyone knows who that is, but he's responsible for years ago decrypting, descrambling the copyright protection on DVDs. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. I mean, go ahead and just Google DVD John, and you'll find out all sorts of neat stuff. But that was the whole reason that whenever doubleTwist launched back in 2006, I think. That's the whole reason I downloaded it and started using it. I was like, this is pretty cool. All right, I know who that guy is, So so for all the tech geeks out there that know who that is, that's a reason right there to give it a try,
That's true, and we've always sort of kept that as one of our ideals. We're kind of like the small guy trying to fight the big force. At some point in '08, we put a really big banner on the San Francisco Apple Store we have downtown over here during like their big developer event. It was really amusing to see everybody freak out over that. I'm sure there was very angry phone calls being made by Apple to people that day.
Oh, that's hilarious! Yeah, because
your
app
really
used to the original doubleTwist app used to strip. I think the term was liberate music from the Apple iTunes. Yeah.
Yep, that's actually why I was involved too.
Oh, that's hilarious! All right.
So a couple more questions from our viewers. Is the Magic Play going to be free, included in the subscription price, or is it going to be like an equalizer where it's a couple of bucks in-app purchase?
Oh no, Magic Play is completely free. It'll be free for our free products. It'll be free for anything out there, pretty much. We're trying to make, because we love the idea of AirPlay so much, except the fact that it's limited to only Apple devices. We're trying to make something that will really work for everything out there without having to worry about paying any fees to any company or whatsoever. It should just work.
Very nice. Another question is, where do you see doubleTwist in 5 years? What do you expect the company to be doing then? How do you think things will have changed since then?
Well, perhaps in 5 years we'll finally have a tablet app.
Hey, you know what? Whenever you go hollow, you could work that in there.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm secretly may or may not be sketching up something, but given the pressure that Google has been giving us on having a tablet app,
that's good. You gotta go hollow.
Definitely. So yeah, in 5 years, where is the doubleTwist? Having more hollow apps. Having a, we're really we're in Magic Play for the long run. We want to make it. We're considering things like perhaps we can bring it to the web. Again, I can't promise anything because there's lots of technical and licensing and yada 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 behind it. But I really like the service. I would love to see it in different places. We're working on completely making a new product for the desktop. So for Windows and Mac, there's a really cool new set of apps coming that work really well. And honestly, just really building on our strengths. I mean, we made a little alarm clock app at some point. That was really nice, and it was really cool to see the reception to that because people said there were 2 types of comments you saw on it. One was, why would I spend money on an alarm app when my phone already does it? And then other people said, well, doubleTwist makes really nice apps, and this one is no exception, and it's definitely worth the buck. And that was really cool, and it made us think, hey, we could definitely in the future make apps that sort of extend naturally from our player, or do one thing, do it right. And I think we'll definitely build on our strengths and try and sort of create more things that make people's lives more fun or easier.
Awesome.
So, you gotta love those YouTube comments, So apparently they think this is like a cross between Reddit's Ask Me Anything. Because we have questions like, how'd you grow that mustache? And, it's a good time. We have another question about, what did you have for lunch today? This isn't an Ask Me Anything, guys. It could be, but...
they're not bad questions. It's just, pick your battles and times.
So we do have a relevant question, and I don't know if you're privy to this. So how do artists get paid through the radio service? That might be a question more for your content provider than...
That's actually a super good question. I would love to ask our content provider about that, but as far as I know, it's very similar to the way that Spotify pays their artists through radio systems and Pandora pays it. I think they're all connected to an artist interest organization that actually measures usage of artists based on radio and pays them out a certain amount that all these companies pay into this fund. It's a really complicated, weird thing, which is actually one of the reasons why we have to limit the amount of skips you can do in our app, because otherwise we're not technically considered radio anymore. Apparently these are very, very, like, specifically written laws in the U.S. That have been optimized for this. And I'll try and figure that out, actually. It'd be fun. Perhaps I can do a Reddit AMA on it or something.
There you go. See, let us know if you'll do if you're going to do an AMA. Then see, if you do that, then you'll have to answer the questions about what you had for lunch, how'd you grow the mustache, things like that. Well,
usually there's something about like duck-sized horses and horse-sized ducks in there as well. So
Reddit. All right. So, any other questions, Dan? I'm not seeing any.
I don't see any others in the comments now.
Okay. Well,
I have a question about the Google Plus kind of the new API that was released, the social plugin. Are you going to integrate that into your app at all? I know that you're getting kind of pushed by Google for Hollow, but I mean,
I could see that. I'm currently listening to, and it shares it to Google Plus.
Yeah, it's really funny actually, because we introduced a sharing feature at some point, and we really wanted to integrate Google Plus, and we contacted him and was like, "Hey, how do we do this?" And he said, "You can't. We're trying to push your platform here, guys." So we're
very cool. Well, you know what? It was 30 minutes anyways, and that's about the halfway point to where we wrap things up with Sebastian. So if he froze again, that's some good timing. Oh, hey, look, he's back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you froze again for a second. I was just saying that, I don't think we have any other questions. I don't have any, and it looks like the users don't have any other questions. So I think we're going to wrap up, but you're back. Do you have any questions for us? Anything else you'd like to add about anything we didn't cover? Any plugs for anything?
I mean, not awfully much. Again, I really appreciate you guys having us.
Being
doubleTwist. And,
maybe you can give us some. Since you used to work for Apple, you can give us some Apple hate. I don't know if you have any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'll tell you one thing. Whatever kind of radio product Apple comes out with, you'll soon see that, by the time they get in shape for that, we'll have something so much more awesome built out of doubleTwist that
very cool.
You'll see people switching to Android 4.
And you got to get down when they have their developer conference and hang another banner up and let them know.
We'll try.
That's great. All right, Sebastian. Well, thank you very much for joining us and talking to us about Magic Radio and doubleTwist. We greatly appreciate you having you on the show.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move on to some Android news of the week. Let's talk about what Eric Schmidt said recently. So, for a while now, a bunch of Android fans and Chrome fans have been reading into things, speculating on things that have been released, speculating on some code found, and everything, saying that we think that Chrome and Android were going to marry somehow. And Eric Schmidt said this past week at a big tent in India that the Chrome OS and Android merging rumor is false. It's not going to happen. And he did say that they were going to have more of a commonality, which to me sounds like what we've talked about on the show might happen all along. Either that commonality, is that going to be Chrome OS will be able to run, or just Chrome itself will be able to run Android apps, or Android will be able to run HTML5 apps, through Chrome. One or the other. That's my guess.
Chrome will be the window, though. The browser will be the window.
And that's, I think that's that commonality, because he didn't say, "Oh no, that's never going to happen." He just said, "Oh yeah, they're not merging," because that's just silly.
Or they might pick and choose.
Yeah.
Certain features.
So that's my take on that. You guys have anything to say about that?
I might do some cherry picking and just pick some features that work well in a mobile setting and ones that work well on a laptop setting.
Well, we know Chrome's coming, or not Chrome. We know Google Now's coming to Chrome. We know that commonality definitely will happen in the near future.
Yeah, so that's a mobile feature that will come to the desktop. I think it'll be interesting on the desktop. I don't know how much it's going to be, giving me location-based information when I'm in the same spot.
What about your Chromebook that you carry with you, or your regular notebook running Chrome that you take mobile? It's mobile. It's not always sitting in the same spot.
No, agreed.
I agree with. I think people get their hopes up a little bit too much about what they're going to see converge, and they don't really get what Chrome OS is about. But if you merge in Android and the Dalvik VM on top of Chrome OS and merge in all the conventions that come along with Android, all you did was turn Chrome OS into Android, and you negate all the advantages like having a really low resource, really secure operating system for web technology. So if anything, I would see it being the other way around, where maybe Chrome OS brings the web to Android, but not. That's the only way they can really deploy everywhere, including Windows and Mac and Linux at the same time.
And that way might make more sense, since Android is leaps and bounds more popular than Chrome OS is.
Yeah.
Only a little bit.
All right, so let's talk about Google Keep real quick.
I haven't heard of this Google Keep.
You haven't heard of Google Keep? It just blew up the interwebs this week. From whenever it appeared for 10 minutes and then disappeared, and then 2 days later was released, and the web was all the rage talking about Google Keep. And if you've been in a cave or you're not a Google fan, Google Keep is Google's note-taking app. You can access it at drive.google.com/keep, or you can download the Android app and use it. And I think it's awesome for somebody that wants to keep all their data on one ecosystem, with Google. You don't have to now use a third-party app such as Evernote or SpringPad. You can use it. You can use Google's own solution, and it's pretty awesome. It allows you to record notes with audio. You can say, "Note, hi, remember to bring home eggs," or something, and it'll transcribe it and put it in a note for you, as well as save it in an audio format that you can play back and listen to later. You can do lists. You can take photos and add them to a photo note, or as well as a regular note too, just random text. And you can rearrange them. If you have a note that's an old note but it's still relevant, you can drag it up to the top. You can color code your notes. And it's simple. I like it. I used to take notes with Google Docs. I just never really liked Evernote. And taking notes with Google Docs sucked, because now I have 400 different note docs that every once in a while I go back in and try to consolidate them into one note doc. But this is neat. I've been using it. So what do you guys think about Note? Let us know in the comments, and then you guys here in the Hangout, have you used it? Do you like it?
I haven't used it yet, but I think it's smart for Google to do. It's one of, especially as they are increasingly competing with Office, or trying to compete with Office, it's one of the holes as compared to Office. They needed something that could compete with OneNote. I definitely see them going forward and probably coming out with something similar to Visio as well.
That would be interesting, because I use Visio in my 8-to-5 job a lot.
A lot of businesses do, and realistically, you can almost replace Excel with Google Spreadsheets. You can pretty much replace Word with
Getting there.
And now, what about Microsoft Access? Can we just get rid of that whole thing altogether?
Microsoft has pretty much killed Access anyway. It's no longer really a database program. It's more a platform for developing SharePoint applications now.
Yes, and From a design standpoint, since we were talking about design with Sebastian earlier, I love it because it's a hollow app, and Evernote's a hollow app as well, but it's just a very clean, simple app.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about it. It's clean, simple. It operates a lot better, in my opinion, than Google+. When you open up Google+ Posts in a tablet, it's not as quick as the Note. Be nice for the Google Plus app to have. It's very simplistic. You got the swipe to side to delete or archive. I like the annotations, and it saves your actual tidbit of audio. That's pretty cool. One thing I don't like about that is if you could enable an option to just record audio, that'd be cool. And because when you stop talking, what?
So you would like to save the audio note, but don't transcribe it.
Or for the transcription, if it just does like a ... if it hears some silence, that'd be pretty cool. But mostly for the audio file.
I'd like to be able to NFC share notes with somebody. Let's say you're out and about and you took notes on something. I don't know, maybe you're in class. I don't know, or whatever, and you used it to jot down a few notes, and then afterwards you wanted to share it to your buddy. You just NFC, send them the note. I think that would be interesting. But look. No, go ahead, John.
Of course, I'm a little bit lazy, but most of my note-taking relates to taking screenshots of stuff or saving a website for later. So I would honestly like to see almost kind of like a Pocket kind of thing where you could literally share a website and the note-taking app actually parses the website for you to read offline later. That would be.
I think that would be neat. So, such as on Google Plus, instead of sharing to your bookmark circle.
Just have it everywhere.
Or my read it later circle. You click a button and it sends it to keep. And keeps it for later.
How about adding a picture from your gallery? You can't do that. You have to take a picture from your camera. That's annoying.
Then just upload it from the desktop. I know it's a workaround.
The desktop part isn't actually in Drive.
Yeah, there's no link.
All right, so let's talk about a leak this week with the Google Play Store. Droid Life got a hold of an APK this week that featured a completely revamped UI. It's a little bit unfinished. Some things still need to be ironed out, but it's completely different. It's even more hollow than the current Play Store. It's very simple, very minimalistic, and the colors and the categories all match the Play web store, the actual website, and pictures are much better and higher quality. The images are better. It's just a very, very much needed and gorgeous redesign.
Sebastian, have you seen it?
No, I can't say that I have.
I'm going to give you a link, and while Derek keeps talking about it, because I'm curious to see what a developer standpoint thinks of, the Play Store, because it's where people, go to get their content and get your app.
Well, the fact that it looks more like the actual web store, it's a seamless, integration, or no matter where you're at, if you're on the web app or you're on the Android app, it looks similar, and that's nice. That way people don't get confused. But one thing that's funny is I saw people saying that it reminds them of the old school, like pre, ICS days Play Store. Like back on like Gingerbread. They say it reminds them of that.
It does a little bit.
Really? Like how so? How do you think that it reminds? I mean, I just don't see it.
It does bring up. It does bring some of the good things about the old one, where like if you go to install an app, it doesn't take you to this new, thank you for downloading this other person's app, which is kind of useless to the developer and to Google. But
it promotes
a lot of things just eliminate redundancy.
I mean, it promotes more shopping. I mean, that's why they do that.
Yeah. But
I like the cards though.
Yeah, it's very Google Now-esque. And that makes me think. All right, so we got Google Now, which is, getting, it's improving. It's becoming, a very contextual platform on its own. We have Glass, which has Google Now type cards, and now we have a newly redesigned Google Plus, which they're cards. They look like cards on your profile.
Keep is that way. The iOS Google Maps app is that way.
Yeah, so these things are moving into a hollow card type design. So if Google Play is designed that way, the leaked version, I'm wondering, what we're going to see with Android come I/O. Are we going to see a new change in the design here, kind of like like Sebastian said, they get comfortable with something, then 6 months, a year later, they change it
already.
That would be my luck,
doubleTwist pushes out this beautiful Hollow app, and then Google releases the next version of Android. It's like, okay, now this is how we're designing stuff now.
No gradients.
The YOLO design guidelines.
But it's still a hollow app. It just has there's more cardiness to it.
Well, if I could say anything, I think that what I really love about Google now, like the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is beautiful, this is gorgeous. What I really like about it is it's less intimidating because it just doesn't look as dark and like as I don't know,
foreboding,
graphic. I guess it looks a bit more human.
Yeah, it's very very simple design. Like I really like it.
Friendly.
It kind of brings things into digestible chunks instead of huge things that have to go through. So
the whites and the grays, they're just nice.
Yeah.
And the swiping action, that just makes it amazing for everything because it's very playful.
Oh, we'll talk about another app update, then we'll stop talking about apps because apps are always boring to continue to talk about for long periods of time. So Google Currents now has the ability to play podcasts, which is awesome. I mean, that functionality kind of existed before, but it was nowhere near what it is now. You can play apps. It pops up in the notification, to pause it and fast forward it and so forth. So it's now a podcast app. So those of you that were looking for a Google Podcast app and you used to use Listen, which was just horrible. You can now use Currents for podcasts. We don't have it in there yet. I told our designer yesterday to get that in there, and so probably later tonight or maybe even tomorrow morning we'll have our podcast being able to be played through Currents as well. Maybe you'll be listening to this right now through Currents. Hello from Currents. All right, so let's talk about some Apple rumors, Dan.
So Apple is rumored to be pushing a new flat design for iOS moving forward, getting rid of their skeuomorphism, the make everything look like wood and leather and ugly design philosophy, and moving towards a much cleaner, simpler, matte colors, straight lines, what some people might call tiles or cards or Windows or Android. So look for Apple fanboys to, in the very near future, be telling us all that Apple invented this design trend rather than just followed along on it.
Oh, they don't do that.
No, never. In some hardware news, NVIDIA went out to brag about the next 2 generations of the Tegra chip line. The chips codenamed Logan and Parker, so that'd be the Tegra 5 and 6. They're bragging a lot that I don't really believe at all, because they like to brag and never actually can meet any of the things they brag about. So they're telling us now that the Logan chip, the Tegra 5, will be available in early 2014. That's roughly the same time that the Tegra 4i will become available, the same one that they promised in less than a year, over a year ago.
Well, you remember early 2014 is literally a year from now.
Yes.
But
yes.
Tegra 4 is not
Tegra
even
4i they promised at CES last year, not a couple of months ago at CES, in 2012 in January. They said later this year we will be putting out the Icera 500 modem. Yeah, that's not going to hit the shelves until early 2014. So I don't really buy their promises of Tegra 5 in 2014 because they haven't shown that they can meet any other timelines. I don't believe they're going to do it this time. When that chip does come out, though, they're saying it's going to be based on their new Kelper GPU architecture, so it should be pretty powerful. It's going to have CUDA compatibility. GPU is going to have OpenGL 4.3 compatibility out of the box. And then the Parker chip, which would be the Tegra 6, is going to be on the even newer Maxwell platform. So, and it's also going to be 64-bit ARM, so that'll be a 57 or 54 chips. So it should be a pretty advanced chip, but don't hope for it to come out for another 2 to 5 years.
Well, that's cool to look forward to, because in 2 to 5 years, I mean, Qualcomm will probably have like the God mode out or something. I mean, Qualcomm will be rocking some 8-core.
Like the RF360 that they're launching later this year, that's going to make the i500 look like a worthless piece of crap.
It says a lot
the mobile hardware race is vibrant right now.
Yes. Yes, it is. And NVIDIA likes to brag a lot in that race and struggles to actually
Yeah, didn't Qualcomm put out a piece this week basically saying, don't believe everything you read, look at statistics, look at numbers. Just because somebody says they're awesome doesn't mean they're actually awesome.
Yeah, pretty much.
What does it tell you about NVIDIA's confidence with Tegra 4 saying it's not on the market yet and they're already talking about their next 2 chipsets?
It's still months away, and all they can do is brag about the next generation that's over a year away. That is not an impressive.
So we'll be good to go in many years.
The other thing to keep in mind is that while they're promising this chip for a year plus from now, nobody wants to buy the one that they're promising in a month or so.
So it may take a long time to get these new processors out there. Who knows when they're going to be out there? But let's talk about something that is actually out there that should have been out there months ago, such as the Verizon Galaxy Nexus 4.2.2 update that is now live. Woo! This is a celebration, yeah!
Golf
job,
Verizon.
You guys got the update out there months after everybody else got it out there. Well, I mean the GSM version. You are no longer 4 updates behind Android. You are now up to date. That's awesome. You know, but in Verizon's defense, the past couple months, they've updated tons of phones.
Stop right now. There is no defense.
They've updated a lot of phones. They have the original Droid Razr Max, the Droid Razr HD as well. The Droid Charge got an update.
Yeah, but Derek, this isn't something that's in their defense. This is basically saying, oh, gee, they woke up one day and realized that manufacturers had left updates pending their approval for the last 6 months and finally decided to do their job.
Wouldn't it be sad if the Droid Charge is in the update queue ahead of the Galaxy Nexus?
It's like, hey, what's this email from buildbot@google.com from 4 months ago?
Exactly. The fact that they're doing them all in this mass like this just makes it look that they sat on them because, I don't know, they couldn't get it together or fell asleep or forgot that was part of their job.
So those of you that downloaded the leaked version of Android 4.2.2 for the Verizon Galaxy Nexus a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, you don't have to do anything. It's nothing new. It's not a new leak, it's not a new build of Android. So if you're already on that, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about.
The point that it's been there for at least 2 weeks.
Well, it's been there for a lot longer than that. Yeah. Yes. So you're good to go. You now have Android 4.2.2, so you can do awesome things like dash clock. Check it out and put them on your lock screen and see the awesomeness that is dash clock. I love it. My Droid DNA can't do that, but my Nexus 7 can. I hate the Droid DNA. You know what? I say it every week, so I'm going to say it again. The Droid DNA is an awesome piece of hardware. I just don't like Sense. HTC made a very good quality phone. This is a good quality phone.
They always do make good quality phones, and then they ruin them with their software.
It's a very good phone, and a lot of people love it. I just like stock Android. And I know, I bought a phone hoping it would get stock Android, and that's my fault. Hate me, I'm bad. So let's talk about some more Android updates. So John and I were talking about the Droid Charge got an update this week, and it's kind of a head scratcher. I mean, I don't really understand. So they didn't get Jelly Bean. They didn't get Ice Cream Sandwich. But you'll be happy to know that you got a back-ported ICS feature into your Gingerbread release. You now have a face unlock and photo editor. Congrats. So instead of getting a platform update, you just got, an additional feature.
Yeah, you didn't get no butter, no render script or anything like that, but you can face unlock now.
You didn't get no butter.
Well, Verizon is trolling you officially now.
Or Samsung, or both.
The Droid Charge, that's just
That's a phone that had so many issues. As much as people used to flame the Thunderbolt, I can see why they didn't update it because they're like, if they've got something that's halfway working, they probably just said no, just leave it alone.
Yeah, just don't touch
it's just like
Yeah, seriously, don't even touch it with like a 10-foot
Don't
pole.
blow on it. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it cross-eyed.
Yeah.
so. Jelly Bean is now being pushed out for the Droid 4. Which is great because, you know, a lot of people, like a buddy of mine, Chris Jenkins here on Google+, he was so excited when that phone came out because he has real big man hands, I guess, and he needs a keyboard. He can't pull-out keyboard, a physical keyboard. He can't do soft keys. So he for the longest time, he's like, I want LTE, I want dual-core, and I want a keyboard. And when that phone came out, he was extremely excited. So those of you that fit that criteria, you now have some butter. How'd you say that, Scott?
But
You ain't got no butter.
Oh, but actually now they do.
Remix that.
before you go on, Derek, touching back on the NVIDIA stuff for a minute, one of our YouTube viewers asked if anybody's announced any phones using the Tegra 4. So far, the only manufacturer to announce that they're making phones with that chip is ZTE.
Out of China.
Out of China, yes. A value manufacturer out of China.
Which basically means here in the U.S. you won't see
It's
that.
not going to be here, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what that means. And, I mean, it's
Currently.
not going to have LTE compatibility of any form whatsoever, so it's not going to be distributed in any phone sold in the United States. In any
Currently.
Now, currently. Now, whenever I spoke with ZTE at CES, you know, they gave us the same as Huawei. They said, you know, hey, we're trying to work with U.S. carriers. We're feeling we're getting pushback. We'd love to release a phone in the U.S. Yada yada yada. So they're trying to do it.
Not with the Tegra 4, though.
Yeah. Talking about the manufacturers as a whole.
Yeah, oh no, I know they're trying to break into the U.S., but they aren't going to be able to do it with a phone with the Tegra 4 because the American carriers aren't going to sell the phone if it doesn't have LTE.
So, those of you that are rocking the Droid 4, you'll be happy to know that it looks the same as the Razer and Razer Max Jelly Bean update, which is good because the Jelly Bean update, you know, removes all that crap that you don't need, such as bloatware and Motorola apps that aren't needed when Google apps exist to do the same functionality. So, Dan, my resident hardware guy and my resident carrier news guru. Do we have any carrier news to talk about this week?
Yeah, so T-Mobile pushed out an update for the Galaxy Note 2, which most notably enabled LTE on the device.
Now that is their first LTE or enabled device, correct?
Yes, that is their first LTE-enabled device. They're still saying that LTE is not available, but will be coming soon. They are having a press conference on, I think it's the 26th, maybe the 28th, when they're also going to start selling the BlackBerry Z or Z10, which they have said will be an LTE-enabled device on their network. So the Note 2 and the BlackBerry Z10 are the first two LTE-enabled devices on T-Mobile, and presumably they will be flipping that network on the 26th or soon thereafter. So hopefully we'll be seeing LTE coming from T-Mobile very, very quickly. They're still promising to cover 100 million people by mid-year, so expect to see them lighting up tons of markets over the next 3 months. AT&T is also releasing some new plans for high data usage. Don't get too excited, though, because if you want 30 gigabytes of data for your family plan, it's going to cost you $300 a month, plus $30 per phone on the share plan. You can bump that up to 40 or 50 gigabytes for an extra $100 each. So if you need 50 gigabytes a month of mobile data for you and your tablet and your spouse and her tablet and your plethora of children that are using lots and lots and lots of data, you can get that for a cool $500 a month.
Now, we have some Verizon news that isn't on the show doc that came out that I think we need to talk about. There's actually two tidbits of Verizon information. Tidbit number one is Verizon came out with a messaging app for tablets and for the desktop.
Why?
So Well, according to the video, when my girlfriends are out shopping for wedding dresses and I can't make it, I can still text them from my tablet or my desktop. Which it was.
I just remembered that not everybody uses Google Voice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Not everybody uses Google Voice. If you did use Google Voice, you could do that. But if you don't use Google Voice because you're on Verizon, and it's, well, we don't need to get into that. But
You can use Google Voice on Verizon.
I know you can, but I'm saying that they make it harder to port your number and everything, and to use the Google Voice voicemail. It's not integrated.
It's really not that hard.
I know.
Not at all.
I did it really easily.
I know.
Maybe where you live, it's a little bit harder because the network is non-existent.
Making it harder to port your number out. If they're making it hard to port your number out, please call your congressman because
the reason that it's hard to port your number out is because people that have grandfathered in data plans, they've been on the service for a while, and they want to transfer their number to Google Voice.
Oh, what you're complaining about is they're making it hard for people to want to port their numbers out, not that they make it actually difficult to do.
Yeah, no, it's very simple to do. You can do it in a few seconds, but when you do that, it cancels your account and creates a new account for the new number. Doing so, you lose your grandfathered in data plan, which many people don't want to do. So it's hard to come to terms with. How about?
Oh, bye-bye.
Yeah. Derek, nice to have you back.
Yeah, that was interesting. It said my data connection was lost. Sebastian had that problem earlier tonight. Well, anyway, so Verizon now allows you to send text messages from your tablet, group text messages, and you can do it from your desktop too. You have to do that. You install the app or go to my Verizon's web portal. I have not tried it yet.
Also, for the record, you've been able to send text messages from your desktop with just about every carrier via their website for quite some time.
Yeah, and you've been able to do that with Verizon as well, but reading them, you weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
The other tidbit of Verizon news, just on a personal note here, and it's a personal triumph. I now have LTE where I live, officially.
Hooray for Derek.
Wow, you were out of the Stone Age.
I know. Before, the LTE was only partially covering my town because it was a tower from a mountain that was getting a larger area, so it was like kind of shaky. I mean, I had it at my house, but basically if I left my house and went actually into town, I didn't have LTE. But now the towers in my town have actually been upgraded.
They've gotten taller.
They've gotten their big boy pants on, and I now have LTE all over my little town of 11,000 people. So I'd let you know, Verizon, you're doing stuff good. Keep it up. Keep
amazing.
LTE. Keep giving us LTE. I guess that's it. So Scott, do that wrap up thing.
Let it roll.
Butter.
You ain't got no butter.
You know what I'm gonna call? The show's gonna be called Live with DoubleTwist, and you don't have no butter.
You ain't got no.
You ain't got
no butter. Okay. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube, you guys can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Miro, RSS Feed, and
soon to be Google Currents.
And also SoundCloud, which just had a Android and iOS update, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit better. You can find us on AndroidAuthority.com. You go to the bottom right section called On Air. We do a post after every episode, just kind of wrapping up what we talked about. I also want to say thank you to Sebastian DeWitt and DoubleTwist for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it, and really excited to see where DoubleTwist goes. Maybe it hollows all the things pretty soon. But I'm excited to see what they come out with, and yeah. You guys got anything else to add?
You ain't got no butter.
You ain't got no butter.
Peace. All right, guys, have a good night.